What's going on? Albie with Albie Fitness Gaming, and you've seen the title of the video. You know why you're here. Making gains and playing games. Today we're playing Green-White ValueTown. So we're going to go over the deck here, and then we're going to jump into a game so you guys can kind of have an idea how the deck runs. So for the land, we have Gavany Township, 4 Ghost Quarters, 4 Horizon Canopies, 3 Snow-Covered Forest, Snow-Covered Plains, 2 Temple Gardens, 4 Windswept Heath, and 2 Wooded Foothills. So 6 fetch lands. We got a nice amount of lands we can fetch here. We have a lot of Horizon Canopies because we do have Mana Dorks here. So we're able to cycle through these, and also we have Night of the Reliquary to fetch them out. We have Courser, but we'll get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, Gavany Township, pumping the team. Ghost Quarter to get rid of troublesome lands. Pretty basic stuff here for the lands. I mean, anytime you play a green-white hate bear deck, green-white death and taxes list, like, you're probably playing 90% of these lands. You know, they're just the best for this combination of color for these type of decks. So pretty self-explanatory here, but I like to go over it just a little bit in case people don't know. Gavany Township is obviously really good when you're playing a bunch of little smaller creatures, especially Mana Dorks, because you can get a lot of use out of this. But let's jump into the deck. We have 4 Path to Exiles, pretty standard, best white removal spell in Modern. Then we have 7 Mana Dorks. The reason is, as you can see here, we have 12 3-drops, although 2 of them are equipment. So in reality, we have 10, but we also have 4 Collected Companies. So we really want to get to this part of our deck here really fast. And then these cards here are kind of like that middle piece that helps us get there in case we don't have Mana Dorks. So then we have Stoneforge Mystic. Really good card in this deck. Not only does it provide you value with these swords, but these swords are very, very good with your creatures because it turns these mediocre 4 out of 10 at best creatures into real life threats that can end the game. So then we have a singleton Scavenging Ooze, just a good target for graveyard decks. It can also turn into a beater if games are getting kind of long, so we only need 1, we don't need multiple. It's also something we can find with Collected Company. 1 Script Ranger, really good card with your Mana Dorks. You can get double activations. You can also get double activations with Night. Also, you can return Forest if you need a land in order to replay it to gain life off the Courser. Kozali Pride Mage, really good because of Exalted. Can help with the aggro plan. Also, good utility creature to get rid of artifacts and enchantments to allow your Skyclave operations to take care of creatures and other threats. And then we have 3 Voice of Resurgence. This is, pretty much it's a very good card in this deck because it provides a lot of value. It's really good at slowing down really aggressive decks because you can block and you get an additional blocker. Because we do play a lot of Mana Dorks, the voice tokens tend to grow really fast and buy us enough time to be able to get into our late game. Skyclave operation. I always say this in all my videos. This is probably the reason these type of decks are good now. Alright, they're playable. I mean, you could always play these decks, but this is the card. This is the reason, folks, why these decks are actually competitive now. Because this card just answers mostly everything in Modern. Courser Crufix, Night of the Reliquary. That's your value plan. Your end game is obviously Night of the Reliquary. That can end the game really fast. Courser, really good with land drops, gaining life. And then, of course, Collected Company gluing everything together. You have your typical swords in Batterskull, the Skyclave, and the Sword of Fire and Ice. So far, for these style of decks, Death and Taxes decks, this is the equipment package right here. I don't see any other sword replacing any of these currently. For the sideboard, we have 4 Thalias. That's going to be for the combo decks. Some heavy spell-based decks, you want to bring this in, but it really depends. If they have a lot of removal, you definitely, like a Jund, Abzan, Green Black Rock, you definitely want the voice over the Thalia. So keep that in mind. Winds of Abandonment, a very good card against decks that want to go long. Elves, Death and Taxes, some Eldrazi decks. Even it's good also against Boggles. If you expect the game can go a little bit longer. This is a slower deck, so because you're gaining life and you're blocking and things like that, and you're generating value, you could it's common for you to get up to 6 mana fairly easily. Even Mind Sensor, just a solid card, really good at stopping things like Scape Shift and other decks that like to fetch. Just a random catch-all card here, and randomly good against some strategies. Mirran Crusader, protection from black and green, double strike. This equipped with a sword is brutal. All right, just brutal against certain decks. They can't beat it. Against green black rock, elves, like mono green, whatever, stompy, whatever. There's a lot of decks like you play this card and they cannot win. And then you put a sword on it and it's GG, my friends. Pack them up, go fishing. And then we have Knight of Autumn, another catch-all card. You can gain life, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you can just turn into a beater. Fire Action Revoker, good card to handle certain planeswalkers that come down early, probably like Ren and 6 and things like that, although they can easily kill it, but it's all about buying time, and usually you have cards you want to replace in here anyways. So let's jump into the matchup here that we have. So just like every game, we don't know what we're playing against. So we look at this hand here, and the first thing that I look at is like, all right, we have mana. We have Mana Dorks, and we have a Stoneforge Mystic that's going to be able to get us an equipment. Most importantly, we have a Gavony Township, which goes really good with this hand because we're going to be able to generate a lot of mana very fast. Because we have the Stoneforge, this tells me that even if they kill our Stoneforge, we're going to be able to cast the Batterskull fairly easily. So this is a good keep against most decks. Alright, so opponent plays a Overgrown Tomb here, so this can be green-black rock, it can be green-black elves, it could be Jund, it could be 4-color good stuff. I mean, it could be a lot of things right now. We didn't see a discard spell, we didn't see a fatal push, so like it can be anything right now. So we're playing Stoneforge Mystic here. We're just going to grab the Batterskull because we don't know exactly what we're playing against. And Batterskull does generate a lot of value because what ends up happening is let's say they do have a fatal push, they trade a card for our Stoneforge Mystic, but now we have a card in Batterskull, so technically it's like a 2-for-1 on our end because now they also have to take care of the Batterskull. Alright, so opponent here, this is where we're going to find out what they're playing, hopefully, so that we can create a better strategy. Opponent is thinking very hard with his 8 cards. Alright, an opponent scoops it up here. So I think what happened here is the opponent definitely had cards to play. They probably realized, hey, the chances of me winning this game are very slim. I have an advantage if I just scoop now. My opponent's not going to know exactly what I'm playing. They're not going to be able to sideboard correctly. That's a known thing for people to do. It's completely okay if you know you're going to lose a match. So here, I mean, we don't really know exactly what they're playing. We can kind of take a guess. So Mirran Crusader, pretty safe. We saw green and we saw black, right? We saw an Overgrown Tomb. So Mirran Crusader is an easy add-in. So we remove the Corsair Crewfix because if they are a heavy base removal deck, they're probably playing Tarmogoyf, and Corsair with enchantment creature can really expedite that. Plus, they're going to have so much removal that it's like we're not really going to be able to generate the value we want out of it, so we'd rather have the Mirran Crusader here. What else did we get out of here? So we're going to go in with 61 cards because we didn't have too much to trim. We trimmed, again, a bird because, again, I'm assuming they probably have a lot of removal if they are playing green-black. If they're playing something like green-black elves, this is still decent, but I would have removed some other cards. Maybe another Corsair or something, I'm not sure. Or maybe a Stoneforge and a Corsair, or maybe 2 Stoneforges. I'm not sure to be 100% sure, but definitely to add the Wind of Abandonment. It would not make too much of a big difference. So opponent plays Cavern of Souls here, so the jig is up. It's Elves. So we're like, okay, cool. So we didn't sideboard horribly. We could have sideboarded better by adding Wind of Abandonment. And this shows you that advantage that you get when you scoop early. You know, if you know you're not going to win, why give information? So now I'm like, okay, cool. So we sideboarded. Okay, luckily we had a Mirran Crusader. But we could have definitely brought in the Wind of Abandonment here. Now, Elves is one of those decks that it's beatable. I beat it a lot more than I lose to it, but it always feels like they're gonna beat you, right? Like every single time I play against this deck, I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna win this game. I mean, I know like what has to happen for me to win, but I'm just like, man, there's so much that has to happen for me to win this. There's so much I got to go through. But it happens, man. It's like I go with the flow and it just happens and we end up winning. I don't know. So opponent here has a pretty decent start here. They're going to pretty much be able to dump their hand possibly. So when you play against Elves, one thing that I always see mistake people do, they go after the Heritage Druid. And my philosophy against these decks, my strategy is you go over the creatures that can kill you. Heritage Druid, sure, can help them cast a bunch of Elves. But if they're just a bunch of 1/1s and 2/2s, it doesn't really matter, right? Now, the Elvish War Master, that's a card that can end the game. The Elvish Archdruid, that's a card that can end the game. These are the cards, in my opinion, that you should be going after. So in this case, we go over the Archdruid. It is the most threatening card currently right now. The Elvish War Master will become a huge threat, but it is going to take a couple more turns for that to be that much of a threat. By then, we'll be able to have Collected Company up, and hopefully we can hit another Skyclave, or some Stoneforge Mystics, or Mirran Crusader with an equipment. Like we have some things that we can get into here that will just win us the game, even though they're having a really busted start here. And you know, as an Elf player, I'm not an Elf player, but I could imagine as an Elf player, you're here, you're casting all these spells, you're doing really good, and your opponent has a Voice of Resurgence and a Noble Hierarch. You're probably thinking things are really, really good. But little do you know, this is Green-White ValueTown, and we don't lay down for anybody. All right, so opponent has 2 Elvish War Masters. So now we're a little bit of a trouble because getting 1 piece of removal for 1 is easier. Getting 1 piece of removal for 2, I mean, although they only really need 1, now we have 2 threats that we got to get rid of. And now they have a Collected Company, so it's like, oh man, what if they get an Elvish Archdruid? There's so many other things. Renegade is, I forgot the other guy's name. There's another guy that pumps the team as well. So luckily they don't really hit anything too crazy with the Collected Company. They have 1 card in hand here, which is a land. So they play their entire land. I'm looking at the board right now. I'm like, all right, we can still win this game. Although they look like they have a very, very strong board presence, we definitely have some draws that we can draw into in the next turn or 2 that can definitely still put us back in this game. And like I always mention about these green-white decks and Death and Taxes, mono-white decks, we're always playing from behind, so you have to get used to that. You have to get used to always being behind the opponent and making comebacks. So Collected Company here hoping to hit either Stoneforge Mystics or Skyclaves, and bada beam, bada boom, we hit 2 Stoneforge Mystics. So we're going to be able to grab the equipments that we need here. Luckily we have a lot of mana available, so we're going to be able to put down a Sword of Fire and Ice and a Batterskull. Those are the swords that we want. We don't want the Skyclave. I mean, it's not bad, but we need the ability on the Fire and Ice because we need it to start picking off some of their creatures if they decide not to block. And if they do decide to block, we're gaining life and they're losing a creature. And right now, what we want to do is we need to slow them down a little bit in order for us to get these equipment in play. Now, keep in mind, we also have Mirran Crusader, which if we draw into a Mirran Crusader, you know, and they're not developing the board any more than they are right now, you know, equipping the Batter Skull to the Mirran Crusader is going to be GG. So they play another land. That's good news for us. They could activate the Elvish War Master here, which, I don't know. You know, I don't play Elves. I thought they were going to just, you know, to me, this is the way that I'm thinking. I'm thinking, you know, they're gonna activate it. They're gonna tap some Elves, generate some extra mana to use the Elvish War Master and start attacking. There's really nothing that we have here on the board that can trade fairly well, other than maybe block with the voice and get a nice token. But I would have attacked there. If you're an Elf player, let me know if this person should have attacked there. I think attacking there was the right move, but instead the opponent does not attack, and now we draw into a Mirran Crusader. So now so at this point, when I draw into this card based on the equipment we have, and they didn't attack last turn, and we have a healthy life total, at this point I'm like, okay, we got this. Like, I can't really think of a way that they can beat us, right? Because the only thing they could do in this turn, in my opinion, that's threatening is either draw a company and get 2 more elves, but that doesn't really do anything. Even if they hit Archdruids, sure, they'll have big creatures, but they can just activate the Elvish War Master and create pretty much the same effect by 2 plus 2 plus Death Touch. Now, since my strategy is that I'm going to play the Batter Skull regardless and equip it to the Mirran Crusader, because that's going to end the game, I don't mind trading the Batter Skull for any of their creatures. I also don't mind trading the Voice. That's going to give us a bigger creature. I also don't mind trading off one of our Stoneforge Mystics, and I'm definitely going to block with the Mirran Crusader, which is going to kill one of their guys. So right now I'm looking at this board and I'm like trying to think, like, how do we lose from this position here? We just made a nice little comeback. We happened to draw into some good cards, and the company happened to hit a good percentage of the cards that we really need. If we would hit 2 Skyclaves, that would also have been good. But opponent here going for their alpha attack. I think the reason they didn't attack last turn is because they probably didn't want to attack with like a few creatures. They probably just wanted to go for an alpha strike like they are doing now. To be fair, neither of us obviously knew I was going to draw a Mirran Crusader, which completely changes the dynamic of the game, because if we didn't draw that card, they could, you know, it makes a little bit more sense. We play the Batter Skull, you know, they kill it, then we have to equip it, we attack, and, you know, we're still going back and forth, and they can probably just take the game from there. But the Mirran Crusader really swings the game in our favor. It's a really good card, guys. Put it in your sideboard! So, sticking to the plan. Batter Skull coming down. We're going to take a ton of damage, but we're going to gain some life, and then we're going to equip it to the Mirran Crusader, and we're going to win the game. The opponent has 0 cards, so at this point here, I'm just making sure I don't misclick anything. I'm double counting everything just to make sure, because I'm like, okay, I mean, we got the game. We just have to survive this turn, which, looking at our board, they have no cards in hand. There's no way for us to die here, so let's just double count, make sure, just to be safe. There's no rush, you know. We got 20 minutes on the clock. So like I mentioned, I don't mind blocking with the Voice because we rather have the token at this point. They're not going to be really playing any spells instant speed. We're just going to throw away this Stoneforge here. We rather have the life. We're going to go ahead and get rid of one of their creatures, 2 of their creatures here. Their most threatening creatures. You know, and just getting rid of the 2 Elvish War Masters puts us so far ahead. But being able to equip the Batter Skull to the Mirran Crusader is just OP against these decks. So opponent going in for the Alpha Strike. Again, I really do feel if they would have attacked last turn, they could have got it. You know, it's always easy to watch a game and look back at stuff and say, oh yeah, you could have done this and it would have been better. That's always easy. But you guys let me know in the comment section if you think that was a misplay or if there's a reason why that they should not attack. I don't play elves, so I don't know. So now, again, just exactly what we thought what would happen. We're going to go to 8. Healthy life total. We got rid of their biggest threats. And now we have a 4/4. We have 4 creatures, and we have one that can trade or kill whatever they play. They have 0 cards, and now we can equip the Batterskull here. And we draw the Skyclave, which is really good anyways, and we also have the sword. But at this point, once we get in with this, once we attach this Batterskull, and get in with this Mirran Crusader with Vigilance, like, there's no way for them to come back. It's just not happening. So here I'm doing the math, and I'm like, all right, they're tapped out. There's nothing in their hand. We got 12 off the Mirran Crusader, 14, 15. 12. Yeah, about 17 damage. So yeah, -1. That's what we got, and we got there. So there it is, my friends. Green-white value town. We didn't even see like the Knight of the Reliquary, Corsair, Crewfix combination of generating a bunch of value. We just basically saw what the deck, how the deck wins a lot of the time, which is playing 4 out of 10 creatures with equipment. And like I always say, man, like Stoneforge Mystic and Skyclave have really turned these decks extremely competitive because of that. I mean, you basically went from playing these little hate bears and these not so aggressive creatures to now not only do they have some type of ability that really is good on a creature, but what lacks on them is their aggressiveness. But now with equipment added to that and extra value from a Stoneforge, it just takes the deck to another level. And then you have Skyclave that answers anything. Artifacts, enchantments, creatures, planeswalkers. I mean, what can I say? What can I say? The green-white Death and Taxes style decks are back, baby. Well, are they back? They're not back. They're in now. They're good now. They're good, man. And it's good. It's a good time to be playing Magic, in my opinion. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching my videos. Don't forget to subscribe and share. It helps out a lot. If you have any questions, comment at the bottom. I know somebody asked for some bicep flex action. There you go. Bah, 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 boom. Sorry. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and peace out.